In this episode, Novell SUSE Linux Milestone, a proper perspective, the involuntary unification of Linux, Amazon wastes money, pays Microsoft for Linux, and Beginner's Guide, run Linux like any other program in Windows. QuickSurf Internet Media presents Linux News Log, separating the Linux and open source signal from the noise. Hey everybody, how's it going? I'm your host Adrian, coming to you almost live from lovely Phoenix, Arizona, here in Studio C1 at QuickSurf Internet Media. This is Linux News Log Season 10, Episode 9, and Linux News Log is a proud member of the Tech Podcast Network. If it's tech, it's here. Do feel free to head on over to www.techpodcast.com. If there's anything over there you like, then feel free to check it out as well. Before we get into the stories for this episode, I do want to point out to everybody that all of the RSS feed subscriptions have changed. So if you're subscribing currently to the MP3 or the OGG Vorbis feeds in particular, you need to go to linux.quicksurf.com or quicksurf.com. And in the show notes, I have the new RSS feeds that you need to start subscribing to. The old ones right now are currently redirecting. However, I cannot guarantee how long those old links will still continue to redirect and just go away. So do please change to the new subscription links as quickly as possible. In addition to that, I've added a few other subscription links for those of you who want the iPod compatible video, which apparently quite a few of you do because you've been manually downloading it from the site. So for those of you who want that, by all means, you can now subscribe to that separately and get all the show notes and all that. Same thing on the 720p 30 frames per second video. That's also now available via a subscription link as well, so you don't have to manually download those. In addition to that, if you just want everything that I host and produce, I've also provided a link that just gives you, by default, the iPod format for the Geekinator podcast as well as Linux News Log. And in the future, if I spool anything else up, that will also show up in the main feed as well. So check those out. And with that, let's go ahead and get into the stories for this episode. From the VAR Guy, we have a story entitled Novell's SUSE Linux Milestone, Proper Perspective. And the story starts off, initially, the VAR Guy wasn't all that impressed with Novell's latest financial results announced February 25th. But our resident blogger overlooked one important fact. Novell's SUSE Linux business is now break even. Which, if you ask me, that's very good news. That's an important milestone, but what does it say about the broader open source industry's march to profitability? Well, here are some clues. And so this basically goes into a lot of that reasoning. I think it's great that they're finally break even. It's no longer a money sink. They're actually making enough money off of it that, it's not profitable, but it's not, they're just dumping cash into it, not getting anything back. So that is very good. Let's talk about our sponsor for this episode, GoToAssist Express. I want to tell you about a new Citrix online service that will help you save time and money and make you look like a hero to clients or colleagues. GoToAssist Express, an easy and secure remote support solution purpose-built for small businesses and professionals who need to support clients. I've been so excited with the release of GoToAssist Express because there's finally a remote support tool that's easy and affordable. Try GoToAssist Express right now free for 30 days. For this special offer, you must visit gotoassist.com/techpodcast. That's gotoassist.com/techpodcast for a free trial. From lunduck.com, there's this very interesting blog post that Brian wrote up, and it's entitled The Involuntary Unification of Linux. Now, this I found very interesting. Basically, he takes a graph of all the major Linux distributions out there and graphs them out as far as their popularity by how many downloads they've had, and such and so forth. And he gets this information from DistroWatch and a couple of other places, but then he graphs it all out. And the thing that's very interesting is Debian-based distributions, Ubuntu in particular, basically gave the 1-2 punch to Mandrake and Red Hat. And I myself personally, I've noticed this because I used to be a huge Mandrake/Mandriva person way back in the day, you know, 2003, 2004, 2005-ish, and then Ubuntu was released. And initially I was like, you know what? It's just another distro, until I tried it. And then it was like, wow, you know, this is really nice. And then I started looking, what is this based off of? Debian. Oh, wow. So then I started looking at that, and there are a lot of things about Debian that are just handled so much better than what you're going to get off of a Red Hat/Fedora/Mandriva type distribution. So very interesting article. That by all means, check it out. It's got some really interesting insights into what's going on behind the scenes in terms of you know, what people are using and what's popular out there. So very nice. From PCWorld.com, there's a story here entitled "Amazon Wastes Money, Pays Microsoft for Linux." What was Jeff Bezos, Amazon CEO, thinking? Amazon just signed a patent cross-licensing deal that pays Microsoft intellectual property fees for, among other things, patents that cover Amazon's Linux-based Kindle e-reader and its Linux servers. Microsoft has never ever been able to show that its patents cover anything to do with Linux. Microsoft claims that Linux and other open source programs violate its patent rights. They've been making those claims for years. What's always been missing is proof. So the thing that's just very weird about this, and I have to admit, I have not gone into really very much depth as far as this particular instance is concerned, but it just strikes me as really strange that Amazon is paying Microsoft for Linux technology, and maybe I'll have an update on this on the next episode when I have a chance to actually get a little further into it. I've been a little under the weather. I'm actually still dealing with a bit of a head cold, but I'll be taking a closer look at this just to see what's going on, and I'll see if I can get an update later on. But it just struck me as very weird that this would even be happening. From lifehack.org, there's a story entitled "Beginner's Guide, Run Linux Like Any Other Program in Windows." This is kind of going to be our how-to section for this episode. It's pretty neat. There are many reasons people are hesitant to try Linux. The biggest of these reasons is that installing Linux generally requires people to do a list of difficult and unfamiliar tasks. Boy, let me tell you. However, I'm going to introduce virtualization, which is a fancy term for running Linux like any other program in Windows. The following article will guide you through the process of setting up Linux so that you can run it like any other program in Windows. And so this goes through that. I'm not going to go through all the steps. This is fairly lengthy, but if you want to try it out, virtualized, not even as a live CD, just virtualized, this is definitely a way to do it. And it's perfect for those who want to dip their toes into it, or maybe try a bunch of different Linux distributions without actually having to, you know, go and burn CDs or any of that other stuff. So pretty good stuff. That'll pretty much do it for this edition of Linux News Log. As always, I thank you for listening and watching. Please subscribe to the new links, and I will see all of you on the next episode. I'll see you then. Bye.